From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry, Davis and Harold Reynolds, to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar, with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff, to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C, to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano, to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I meant every word I said. All Ohio is when cousins from Pennsylvania and Indiana decided to sleep with each other. Can't stand the Buckeyes. Can't stand that
Man,
shit.
you got it all twisted, man. I thought you were a Florida State fan. You don't even know who your rivals
I
are,
am.
bro.
I do know who the rivals are. I know exactly who the rivals are, but it doesn't take it much more effort to fucking can't stand anybody from Columbus, Ohio. Fuck Urban Meyer. Fuck Maurice Claret. You know what sucks too is Malcolm Jenkins was a part of some good Eagles teams and part of a Super Bowl championship. But if I see him on the street, the first thing I'm going to say to him is "Fuck you, Buckeye. Thanks for the ring."
There you go. My, oh my, it has been a devastating week to your Seattle Mariners fans. And y'all can see, it looks like we're already on the football season, is how we feel around here. We didn't even get the show started before we went completely off the rails, talking shit about our favorite or not favorite college football teams. I see Ginger Fit Dad's already on my ass, thinking that I'm scared of Bo Nix. Bo Nix, really? He can't even beat the Huskies. How are we going to beat the Seahawks? Come on now, man. But that's neither here nor there. Seattle Mariners 1-5 on the week after sweeping the New York Mets. It was almost a double sweep on the week. Thank God they Bats decided to come alive on Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning out here on the West Coast. But y'all know, rain or shine, we're gonna rep this team every corner of this beautiful country. We got Indy out there in Nashville, super producer, rocking the ones and twos. Him and his wonderful now fiance Darby with Vaden Podcast Services. Vaden Podcast Services, they're the brains that bring this wonderful show to life. I gotta give a giant shout out to all the homies in the live chat. Y'all bring the fire. Y'all drop some knowledge. Y'all telling jokes. We can't do this show without you. You are an enormous part of it. We thank each and every one of you for coming on when you do. And of course, don't get it twisted. RG was a terrorist since the public school era. My man, my co-host, what's going on, big bro?
I've been in this game for years. It's made me an animal. The rules of this shit wrote me a manual, step-by-step booklet for you to get your weight on track, not your wig pushed back. Rule number uno, never let no one know how much dough you hold. You know, cheddar breed jealousy, especially if your man's fucked up, get your ass stuck up. Stick around the next few weeks and we'll go through all 10 rules of the 10 Crack Commandments, brought to you by the homeboy, the Notorious B.I.G. It's time to go to work.
Looks like we're on the same page on that one. We had the hip hop conversation last week. We can always kick it that way as we let the show evolve. But man, what a brutal week, bro. What a brutal week. I'm just going to jump down my notes already. We're down to 64 and 61. We're 4 games back at Houston. We're 5.5 games back at Kansas City for the final wild card spot. We started off really well this year, even though I believe it was 6-10 through the first 16. But March through June, 47 and 39. July and August, 16 and 22. It feels like they're playing worse than that. And my biggest bone to pick, RG, is not taking care of business. In July and August, we have 2-11 versus the Tigers and Angels. I repeat, in July and August, 2-11 versus the Tigers and Angels. That's not how you try to get into the playoffs, especially when you're racing against a team that's been there, done that.
The statistic that's been out that's the most alarming. is since June 18th, when we had a 10-game lead on those syrup sipping, trash can banging, fucking punk asses from South Texas. We now have the second worst record in all of Major League Baseball, only above the fucking White Sox. That is absolute ass and absolute garbage. I like the Arozarena pickup. I like that we went and got some arms. I think it was cool that Victor Robles showed up and decided to do some hitting. And ever since we paid him, turned right back into the reason why Washington got rid of it. We need a more constant effort in order to be able to get the goal done, because I just don't see an AL West team slipping into the wild card. Granted, the Yankees are doing their best to open up a door for us to be able to climb on in, but the Twins are playing good ball, the Royals are playing good ball, and I believe that we're behind Boston, trying to search for that last spot. But just, man, just been brutal. Just been absolutely brutal. And we were talking before the show started, too. For those of us who have been here a while, this isn't even the meat of the story on how it plays out. You already know we're going to gain some games and make it close, not only with Houston, but in the wild card as well, too. And September will not be for the faint at heart. If you think that we're just going to run through and magically hit the switch, you haven't been a fan of the Mariners long enough. We are going to make this as painfully beautiful as possible. And hopefully we end up on the right side of it like in 2022.
Sheesh. When you say all that, it reminds me back to 2021 because of how hyped all the fans were coming down the stretch, bro. And you know me, I'm a diehard Seahawks fan, but you know I got that love for the Mariners. I went with a couple of friends to the very last game of the season in 2021, Kyle Seager's last game as a Mariner, as a Major League Baseball player for that matter. But we ended up losing. I believe it was Boston. I think we were chasing one anyway, so even if we won, it wouldn't have mattered. But you invest so much, and we're at the point, RG. Last week I was literally saying to everyone on the live chat, "Come on down with me and my bro. We'll buy you some beers down there." I don't even know if I want to go to the game right now next Saturday. We didn't get
Oh, you
tickets
going?
because
Oh, you going? You ain't gonna
I
make
told
us
him to
look like
go.
we back out of free beer. Nah, nah.
Yeah,
Our
man.
reputation's at the line now. Nah, you gotta deliver on that free beer for people who recognize you at the game. It's only gonna be like 3 or 4. Don't worry about it.
3 or 4, man. I'm gonna add up quick, but
Worst case
it's
scenario,
it's
use
tough.
Katie's credit card. She won't know.
Shit, man. That's gonna come on my bill though, bro.
Shit. Let that be a lesson to you, Indy. Separate bank accounts.
Well, God, there's so many ways we could go with it right now. I'm just gonna dive right in, dude. I'm gonna dive right in, and to me, it goes without question. This is the best starting pitching staff in baseball. This is the best starting staff the Mariners have ever had. It's not even close. I saw a couple people on social media talking about 2001. That 2001 rotation ain't even close to this crew. They got a lot of Paul Abbott had like a 4.5 ERA and 17-2 record. That shit would not fly at all with this team. You'd be 2-17 if you had a 4.5 ERA with this squad this year. So I gotta lay it out there. Best staff ever. We are absolutely wasting it. We have a beat up bullpen, decimated by injuries, and they haven't been able to hold it as well as they should. They blew 2 games this week, but I ain't even gonna sweat the bullpen on that one because you score what? 2 runs, 1 run, a game with only 1 hit. How the hell are you gonna blame a pitching staff when you can only get 1 hit in a baseball game? So the bullpen as a whole, we're tied for 11th in bullpen ERA at 3.91. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. Now let's check it out really quick in my handy dandy notebook, bro. Team pitching. team pitching, the Mariners have the best team ERA. They have the best team whip, and they have the best strikeout to walk ratio. You'd think we'd at least be 15 games over 500 with that sort of staff, but you know what? We know what time it is. The anemic hitting you just referred to. We're 27th in runs per game. We're the worst in strikeouts per game. We're 29th in total bases per game. We're freaking the worst team in batting average. We're 27th in on base percentage and 28th in OPS. Bro, heads might be about to roll, or we are going to literally waste this window. And to me, after this season, the window's 2 more years because that's when Logan Gilbert will be eligible for free agency. If he does not get extended, then Cal and Kirby are just the year after that. We got to do some shit right now, and it might just be slipping through our fingers for this year, though.
When you put it like that, I don't know, man. I don't want to get into the now or never mentality, but the way that our bats are performing is just, it's really frustrating to when you post a Mariners lineup. And 2 years ago, the bottom half of our lineup, all of those guys were either hitting at or below the Mendoza line. And it seemed you knew what you were getting with him. You knew what you were getting with him. And for all the people who were high-fiving and slapping hands that, hey, we got rid of Gino Suarez and Teoscar Hernandez and that was going to cure the strikeout problem, I bet you $1 to a dime right now you'd be willing to take Teoscar Hernandez back with all he's done for the Dodgers. I just don't get what it is just about having on that trident on your uniform that you just can't seem to make solid contact with the ball. I don't think a lot of guys are taking the let's uppercut everything approach. They're just flat out getting beat at the plate.
Yeah.
Just flat out getting beat at the plate is all it is, especially from the games that I've been paying attention to. But again, the best and worst part of this story is there's still 40 days left. Plenty of time to either make it up or make us all suffer. But I'm telling you, if you are any type of Mariner fan, this is not meant for the weak at heart. You better have some type of narcotic or stimulant around, because you are absolutely going to need it over the next 6 weeks.
Seriously, if your job allows you to, get the stickiest of the icky, man, because you're going to need that big time to handle this shit right now. Just looking at the live chat right now, shout out to all the normal homies. Tommy, Texas Power Ranger, Mariners Lifer, Ginger Fit Dad, Sunday Evening Media. Sunday Evening and Ginger Fit are both questioning whether Service should be managing the ball club right now. The first thing I'm going to say, RG, and I'm just going to give you a quick give and go right now. Do you remember any manager in Major League Baseball that was there for the start of a major rebuild and actually saw it to the finish? It feels like that guy that starts the rebuild never makes it to the end.
It's not meant for him, because there comes a time where there needs to be a new voice in the clubhouse. There needs to be new leadership, especially when you need that flip switch and it's time to get to the next level. I'll throw up to you the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. Best record in the league. They end up getting beat in the finals. They start off the year kind of shaky. They get old boy out of there. Tyronn Lue's the coach. Same team, different voice, different philosophy. They finally get Cleveland their first championship in 54 years. Now, granted, it did take some superhuman efforts from two of the greatest basketball players in this generation, but it sparked the change that was necessary to get them over the hump. Did they lose the next three? Yes, they did. I mean, the next two, yes, they did. But I tell you, I'm a greedy type of fan. I just want one. I just want to be able to put on Fox, especially now that I don't have to listen to Joe Buck. I want to see the World Series logo on the field in T-Mobile. I want to pay overpriced seats to sit in the nosebleed. I'm don't tell nobody from my job, but I might have to when we up in Seattle. I just want to see it. I just want to see it. The fan base deserves it. The city deserves it. And I don't think that the players are out there just moving around as lifeless zombies. But I just don't know what to say about just we play terrible against terrible teams. We'll sneak in some good wins against some good teams. We'll beat some pitchers who we don't deserve to beat. But it's like none of that happened in concert with each other to warn us. We blew a 10-game lead. We blew a 10-game lead, and now we're down 4. That's a 14-game swing in a month and in 2 full months now. Just we should be lucky we're not buried. But Houston did a good job for the first 2 weeks that they took over the lead, not being able to really get any real separation against us, or we'd be on this chat right now talking strictly football because there would be nothing else to talk about with the Mariners. But again, just if you've been around, you know how this goes. We are going to make this close. We're going to keep it interesting. The fans are going to keep spending money. Turnstiles are going to keep flipping. Stanton's going to fill his pockets. And we still have to wait 5 to 6.5 more weeks to see how this finally plays out. Buckle in. It's going to be an interesting ride, yo.
Shush. Say the least, man. So almost everyone on the live chat right now is talking about how they want to see changes. And I have been a staunch Jerry Dipoto and a pretty big Scott Service supporter over the years. I think when they realized they had an aging team with Cano and Cruz, they came, a game short, I believe, in 2018. They decided we're done with this shit. We're going to tear down the house, take it to the studs, rebuild this thing from the foundation on up. And it really only took them 2 years to get back. And one of those years was the 2020 COVID season. So that's fantastic. But you just referenced the Cleveland Cavs when they canned David Blatt. They brought in Ty Lue. And then I thought of another example I wrote down. And I personally think that this head coach kind of got screwed. But however you look at it, Mark Jackson, hey, mama, there goes that man. He did a great job of building up the Warriors. He gave the Splash Brothers the keys to the car. He was the first coach that I ever really saw say, y'all just let it fly. Y'all just let it fly and we'll see what happens. They don't make it far enough. He gets canned. Steve Kerr comes in and they become a dynasty. Maybe they become a dynasty with Mark Jackson. Maybe they don't. But my point is that we were saying, you never see a rebuilding manager in baseball see it to the end. And Scott Service's main trade in his post-playing days is player development. Before he became the manager, he was the director of player development for Texas. And so I think that you're spot on, RG, that Service might have done his job as well as he could. He's gotten us to a certain point, but he might not be the captain of the ship to lead us to the promised land. And maybe in a year or two, the Mariners win the World Series and the entire regime is fired. I will say thank you. Thank you for everything you did. But it feels like the time has come. It feels like the time has come. And I'm not giving up on shit. You know how I roll. You got 37 games left. We've seen the Mariners come back from bigger deficits. It's not impossible, but they absolutely have to play some damn good baseball starting immediately. And there's also an elephant in the room that last year, when a lot of people were shitting on Scott, I was telling you, I don't think this ownership group is going to pay a manager to not work for them. They're not going to fire guys with time left on contract. But the weird thing is about baseball is they don't have to release contract details for front office or coaching staff. But one thing I saw, RG, is the pattern is that Jerry and Scott signed a 3-year contract in September 2015, I believe. And then they got extensions in 2018. Then they got extensions in 2021. So if the pattern holds up, their contracts are going to be up at the end of this season, which makes it a very easy exit for the cheap ass ownership group to cut ties because they don't need to pay these guys to sit at home. And so the time might be now. I feel like my question has already been answered, but live chat, tell me what you think. And then RG, simple shit right here. Will Jerry and Scott be retained? And then also, should Jerry and Scott be retained? Because to me, they're two different questions.
Barring a miracle, barring an absolute miracle, I don't see how you could bring Scott Service back. But then I think about it like this. This time last year is when we all began raining shit down on the Rangers because they blew a pretty good sized lead. They looked like they were falling apart. They beat us and they limp into the playoffs. And 3 weeks later, they're holding the commissioner's trophy. So we've seen this play out in a team that looked like they were free falling dead in the water, being able to correct the ship and get the ultimate job done. But then I also think of something else. The White Sox were in a great position and just couldn't keep Tony La Russa out of the fucking way, bring him into it. And then now 2 years later, they're the laughing stock of baseball when they were built to win a championship and compete. So those front office managerial moves, just like with player acquisition, it's very hard to capture that magic in a bottle. I see some people on Bleacher over the week are talking about Theo Esping. Theo Esping already got his 2 jobs done, and he won a miracle twice. He got Boston his, and he got the Cubs theirs. I don't know if the baseball gods can reward him any more than that. And you're also not going to be able to bring him to Seattle with a billionaire who doesn't like to write checks. So that's just kind of far-fetched thinking for me as well, too. But again, 37 days to turn it all around. Can you get rid of Scott and keep Jerry? I think that Jerry is good at being able to get you a fake Rolex on Canal Street. And as long as you don't walk by the Rolex store, music videos, appearances, out to dinner, on TV, no one will ever be able to tell. I think he's the type of GM that fits Stanton's operating motif because he's good at being able to do the best he can with the worst dealt hand. I don't know if Stanton has that luxury if he goes anywhere away from Jerry. And I know everybody has their opinion on 54. To me, 54 from the front office keeps the turnstiles and ticket sales going. Doesn't give a damn if we compete for a title, but it keeps asses in the seats. And I think that that's what Stanton wants overall. Do they both go? Again, contracts are up. We'll see what he wants to pay. But I think that the way Jerry operates fits what Stanton's willing to pay for. Or maybe just to give the fans some red meat if we don't make the playoffs, they fire Justin.
Feels like a cop-out move, but that feels like a Mariners type of move, though, for real. You know, we've talked about the 54% RG, and we've been in agreement that this is a business move. And I'm absolutely 1,000% sold that it was frustration when Jerry let that shit out. I'm sure he wasn't supposed to say that. because it doesn't look good. It obviously looks terrible on him. But we know what time it is. Like I've referenced before, the fans are going to come in the summer. It's a given. Now, do you have the ability to get them to come in the spring? Do you have the ability to get them to come in the fall? That means staying in the race at the end and at least being within earshot, and then having optimism to start the season. Because the key is, can you get families to come during the school year? I've been to that stadium empty in both ends of the season, but in the middle, you're damn right. Your RG ain't nothing that's going to keep Seattle fans from coming, no matter how shitty we are. 54% makes a ton of business sense here. But I do want to kind of put it in perspective for people because, especially in our age group, bro, we all love Lou Pinella. We all freaking love Lou Pinella. He had 7 of 10 seasons over 500, which seems impossible for a Mariners manager, frankly. 7 of 10 seasons over 500. Jerry and Scott together, if the team finishes over 500 this year, will be 6 of 9 seasons over 500. So they're actually not that far from the Lou Pinella era when you just look at, can they produce a winning ball club? Now, like you referenced, RG, a winning ball club doesn't mean shit about making the playoffs. You got to be better than just an over 500 ball club. But I just wanted to get that out there for some perspective. But my big issue, dude, is since the rebuilds, since we were supposed to be good, we're going backwards. 2021, 90 wins. 2022, 90 wins. 23, 88 wins. And this season in 2024, if the Mariners maintain this pace, we plummet down to 82 wins. We are absolutely going in the wrong direction. They are not satisfied with the lineup each year of the last 4 years, and they've made it worse. They've made it worse. And sometimes you got to be happy with what you have. Maybe Teoscar was never going to come here, but you sure as shit need to make an offer to a guy you traded some quality pieces to get. So that one really frustrates me. Ginger Fit thinks services in-game decisions have cost a ton of games. I kind of agree, but I kind of don't because this is a front office led group and the manager is really just executing the front office's plan here in Seattle. And the one thing I would say is it's not yesteryear, man. Like when I get frustrated too when we pull pitchers early. But like John Smoltz, I remember on a broadcast a year or two ago, he was explaining how he would do max effort pitching, maybe a few pitches per game, while these cats are out there max effort every single pitch. The pitching injuries have never been higher. So we got to factor that into consideration. But you know what? It's a bottom line business. This is freaking pro sports. Either you win or you don't. But what's frustrating, RG, is I don't think baseball and the Mariners work like that. The NFL, because everybody's making money, even those small markets. Look at Kansas City, one of the smallest markets in the country. They're putting out a fucking dynasty right now in the NFL because everybody's printing the cheddar. But baseball ain't the same as football. And so maybe my perception is whack, dude. And winning isn't everything necessarily for a lot of these markets that are in the bottom third or so of spending.
I definitely believe that Service is the type of manager where once we get into the 6th inning, there's a bat phone in the Mariner dugout or a bat ITAP pad or some way for the analytics department and the guys upstairs to get a hold of him and tell him what it is that he's doing as he goes through. I don't think that he has absolute free reign. And like you said, or like the comment in the chat said, some of those decisions have cost us some games. You're absolutely right. But I also don't think this Service is the only one. He's just a puppet. He's just a puppet with the strings attached to him. And a lot of those calls are coming from up above his head, which is kind of tired to see. But again, we're from an era where managers got to manage, the catchers got to call most of the pitches. Guys were going out there that they had to pitch 11 innings straight. They were pitching 11 innings straight. We're not going to see anything else like that again. Man, you threw a lot of information out there, bro. But I'm telling you, dude, it's just I definitely think that our organization is a fan of the profit, and any postseason success is just secondary to them as icing on the cake, while the fan base is foaming at the mouth to get into the dance and looking for playoff success. And from a business standpoint, I want to make as much money as I absolutely can. And I don't care if you're entertained by it or not, as long as you show up. And yeah, that sucks to hear somebody say out loud, but again, I'm from the old school. There were always people who thought that they knew more than we did and would talk down to us a certain way. And that's what I took out of Jerry's press conference. But I gave on the first time that me and you were on the airwaves together, when that magical number came out, 54%, I gave 8 situations over the last 22 years where the Mariners have finished 54 or better. And out of those, how many times do we make the playoffs?
Yeah.
So that number, like we're saying, it's not. It's to have a competitive product that you come out to see, but I don't really think that what they want is a championship. Now we could also be in the Mets position where we have an owner that's willing to spend for a championship, but he spent a whole lot of money and they don't have anything to show for it. We could, God rest his soul, Spanos went apeshit down there in San Diego before he passed. He's not going to be around to get to see anything. But hell, they're about to run down what everybody thought was the World Series favorites with their offseason in the Dodgers. So baseball is just finicky like that. But we need production at the plate. If we were getting production at the plate, this wouldn't even be a topic.
No.
But all those moves, all those great value shopping deals, the deal to get a Rosarena, I think, came a little bit too late. But you're getting what you get with Randy. You're hoping Randy gets hot once we get to September.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, man. What is it? Some of these guys, Ginger Fit and Tommy, are not the biggest fans of Saucedo. And I've referenced to other guys, mainly Thornton's been one of the number one guys I talked about, is you got to play a role on a team. And we've had so many injuries in the bullpen or underperformance when it comes to Stanek that guys that were going to be in super low leverage or in Tacoma waiting in the wings have been thrust into some high leverage situations this year. Saucedo is not that dude to be in high leverage spots. His stuff is very, very ordinary for the game of baseball in 2024. If he is not perfect with his command, he will get lit up. That's the story with him. But Stanek underperformed. We didn't even get to see Brash. We've barely even seen Santos. And so it's really been a mash unit of a bullpen this year. That's still no excuse. You are talking about the lack of hitting, RG, the lack of production. So I like to look at things compared to the league because it gives you a good perspective sometimes. Because batting averages are lower across the board for the most part. You got exceptions like Bobby Witt and Aaron Judge, but the Mariners just ain't even close, man. We're not even close. So the highest qualified batting average for the Mariners is Julio, and he's 50th. Our highest batting average is 50th in baseball. The next guy would be Justin Turner, who's 88th in major leagues. Our top 2 hitters are 50th and 88th in MLB rankings. At least we have Captain Cal, who's tied for 10th in home runs, which is also the most for catchers. He's tied for 17th in RBI, which is also the most for catchers. Of all the hitters, Captain Cal is the only dude who has played the way he should this year, who has reached his potential this year. So then for home runs, a Rosarena would be next. He's tied for 76th, but only one of those is with Seattle. So let's just cross him off. So Cal is tied for 10th in homers. Luke Raley tied for 87th. Our second best home run hitter is 87th in baseball. What the hell, man? That's a freaking problem. Then we look at RBI, bro. Cal's tied for 17th. Our next highest total is Mitch Haniger at tied for 100 freaking 36th. Like there is no production. There is no production at all. And you can tell me the RBI might be a team stat, it might be antiquated. I don't give a shit. RBIs are still crucial because that's how you score runs. And when guys are on, you gotta knock them home. Speaking of runs, I'm gonna once again cross off a Rose Arena because he only has 14 with the M's. So the guy that's been here the whole season, the top run scorer for the Mariners is Cal Raleigh, tied for 92nd. Next is J Rod, tied for 134th. Cal is our leading Mariner at OPS at 71st. 71st in OPS. Then the next two guys we just acquired, a Rosarina 90th, Justin Turner 100th. So long story short, fellas, if you want to find a Mariner towards the top of any hitting statistic, you got to scroll way the fuck down. And if you're a little kid, Ty, I'm looking in the newspaper, I ain't going to see any Mariner if I was looking in the newspaper like the olden days, man.
Man, it's Cal Raleigh has solidified his spot as the heart and soul of this team. And whether Julio's ankle is hurt or not, Julio's been around all season. And yeah, he got hot before the injury, but we're as good as Cal Raleigh can carry us. So we're definitely going to need a superhuman job from him the rest of the way. Find a way to get the bats going. Is it too much to ask for personal responsibility that you wake up in your hotel room while they're on their way from Pittsburgh to LA, and you wake up and you say, you know what, I'm going to the park early and I'm going to get in that machine and I'm going to take hacks and hacks and hacks and try to locate pitches and pick up spin, and anywhere that ball is coming, I'm going to be prepared for it? Or are we just winging it every day as we wake up and, hey, it's a game of average, it'll average itself out?
Doesn't always work like that, though, as you're well aware of. You know, the averages average out over time, but sometimes you're having a shitty year and it's just not going to come. I believe Mitch Garver's doing everything he can to turn it around. It's just not happening, man. It's brutal. And the thing is although pitching is way up this year, I mean, me and Indy looked it up, and the last time there was these few 300 hitters was 1968 when Bob Gibson and Sandy Koufax were killing the league, and pitchers were kicking so much ass they lowered the mound. So that's where we're at, but that's still no excuse because there's teams that are hitting on the reg. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting freaking 350. I don't care if he's an outlier. I mean, look at Houston. They got two guys in the top 10 in average. You got the Yankees with two guys in the top 10 in average. We traded Cattell Marte, who is 11th in batting average. And you can say what you want about average because I do take it with a grain of salt nowadays. But the bottom line is it still has a huge importance. It's simple. How often do you get a fucking hit? I mean, I'm huge on walks. If you walk a ton, Edgar Martinez and Tony Gwynn, a huge reason both those guys made the Hall of Fame and were able to sustain such high averages is they walked a ton. So when they got hot, their averages would skyrocket, while other hitters who didn't walk, they would be plateaued at that point. But you have to hit the ball, man. It Ginger Fit, fire the whole offensive coaching staff, including service. I'm down with it, man. Because at a certain point, you can't just keep going back to the well. What is it they say? If you do the same thing over and over and get the same results, that's called insanity. Yeah, dude. And that's where we're living right now, man. And I think for me is there's a lot of people that we know that have been saying fire these guys for a long time when I thought it wasn't that time. I mean, you're winning 90 games 2 years in a row. I'm not rolling like that. That's a damn good season. You know, you get a hit here, a strikeout there. You could be making the World Series for Pete's sakes. But trends are real, and like I referenced, we are going downhill. The Mariners, if they were a stock right now, is a big red arrow down, especially in the hitting department. And then I've been screaming for a long time. Can you get an elite GM to work for the Mariners? Because it feels like Jerry Dipoto might be as good as it gets. But I have one caveat: if you get rid of these guys right now, RG, incoming GM has a 2 year window to really turn it around with a dominant starting pitching staff. How many GMs in baseball that are trying to get that job are going to walk into a team with the best starting staff in baseball? That shit doesn't come around often. It might be a once in a lifetime opportunity for the Mariners to actually get an elite type of guy, because if we wait a couple more years, that ship will have passed us.
Definitely don't want to waste the last two with Cal. Again, with him being a Boris agent, that price, he's going to free agency. I haven't seen a Boris guy not go to free agency, and that price is going to get high. I read something the other day where if you are a starter on the Mariners and you're going out and having these wonderful outings, but yet your team offensively can't be able to help you, do you want to stick around in a situation like that? Because your legacy and your career stats are never going to be what they were. Yeah, imagine if King Felix had an offense. Then we wouldn't be sitting here having the debate that me and you have off mic about whether or not he's worthy of the Hall of Fame. Talent-wise, absolutely. Ability, absolutely. What did you do with all of that? And yes, he can't hit, and that's going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame. If you are Woo, Woo might garner a lot of money on the free agent market. Logan Gilbert's going to get the bag when he gets ready to hit free agency. Are we going to spend to compete to keep those guys in the Pacific Northwest? There's a lot moving forward that's going to cause a lot of headaches that I don't really want to get into, because the current state of the team right now is already frustrating enough. And we're offensive production, where do you find it? I still think in order for us to get the offensive pieces that are necessary for our team, we're going to have to break up that band of starting pitching and have to give it someone. But we don't have enough to be able just to go out and acquire someone. We're going to have to give it up somewhere. Can't tell you who we're giving up out of this pitching pen for, who we could go out and get. But you tell me another way that it can work without us being able to break up that pitching staff to go out and get some players that can actually hit the ball. The bleacher community that we follow too, just everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and just some of the off the wall things that the way that they look at, just no one wants to give up the farm system. And I'm first to scream, prospects are suspect until they get in the major league level and actually perform. Oh no, that guy wouldn't do anything. We know we don't need to keep Teoscar. Teoscar's fucking killing it right now. Even the production that Gino has even given Arizona, not as headline catching and eye popping as what Teoscar has done in Los Angeles, but I'd take anything right now. Just we need someone. We need guys who could put the bat on the ball. Maybe where are we at waiting for JP to come back? I thought the drive line was a miracle cure for everything, and drive line hasn't helped us do shit right now the way that stands either. So we'll dam it. We'll put a dam to the flowing water. We'll build it up. It's how the story goes. 37 days, we're going to make this close. Once we get this close, do we have enough to get over the edge? That's what I'm dreading, looking forward to the next 6 weeks.
Man, I've been chuckling while you've been talking, but that's because the homies on the live chat are making me laugh right now reading some of their shit, bro. Ginger Fit Dad, Saucedo needs to stop streaming and focus on pitching. Shit, man. I don't play as much video games as I'd. There might be something to that. And then also, Tommy says we've been living in insanity since the team's inception. You damn right, bro. You damn right. Katie's aunt was on a, what do they call it? FaceTime. That's what they call it. She was FaceTiming us while we were putting my desk together here that you can't see, but I'm sitting at right now. You know, one of those IKEA styles. They give you the little Allen wrench. You put that shit together and whatever. And she was talking to us while we were doing it. She's like, "What are you gonna talk about tonight?" I was like, "The misery of being a Mariners fan," is what I joked, and it was only a halfway joke, frankly. But it is what it is, man. Mariners Lifer saying Miller and Wu have been amazing this year. Big Tex doesn't get enough love. Absolutely. I caught myself a couple weeks ago because I was not giving Big Tex enough love as he deserves. And I really love how he made adjustments this year. Started out unbelievable. Then he started getting crushed. Now he's pitching unbelievable again. That is the adjustments you have to make as a young player. And offensively, I hope we can maybe see that from Julio because I don't know if he has adjusted to the league the way the league's adjusted to him as well as he should. He's still only 23. We got him locked up long term, so that's all good. But just kind of thinking about what Mariners Lifer said, RG, about Miller and Wu, I have a friend at work, and we were bullshitting one morning before we hit the road, and it was right around the trade deadline. And he tells me, Tyler, you don't need five aces on a baseball team. And it really made me think, dude. And it was your comment a minute ago about maybe we need to break up the band. But I hate when I see on social media and Bleacher and whatnot where people come up with these asinine, unrealistic trades that just make me shake my head like, bro, this isn't a video game, man. You can't just con the AI into taking three bad contracts who are all past their prime. That shit doesn't work in real life. And between your comment right there and what my friend told me a few weeks ago, it might be that time. And it's not because these guys aren't great. It is because they're great that we might have to break up the band because that might be the only way we can bring in someone super legit. And you know, if you have 8 guys in the top 100 prospects, you got to trade 2 of them, maybe 4 of them. I mean, shit, half the top prospects in baseball do not pan out the way you would hope. Shouldn't Jared Kelenic be a prime example? Shouldn't Victor Robles be a prime example? 2 guys we've had right in front of our eyes. And you know, I'm a huge freaking Robles fan, but he has never lived up to that top 5 prospect in baseball that he once was as a young man. Neither is Jared
Kyle
Kelenic.
Lewis.
Neither was Julio Cruz, Kyle
Kyle
Lewis.
Lewis.
And even if it's not your fault, injuries happen. Brandon Roy is one of my favorite hoopers of all time history, but it didn't work out. And his knees gave up on him. Same with Kyle Lewis. Sometimes you bust out and it's not your fault, but it's still what happens that you don't meet the expectations. And then I'm just going to throw this out there. I can't remember if it was Colt Emerson or Cole Young. I was looking at all of his prospect shit, and his player comp was like Adam Frazier. And I'm thinking to myself, everybody is losing their shit that we might trade future Adam Frazier. What the hell are we talking about here?
He did make an All-Star team.
Yeah, he did. I was hyped when we got him. And I look back, we probably should have kept him.
Yeah,
I
I thought so.
mean, there
I
we go.
thought so.
Ginger Fit, Dustin Ackley. There's another great one.
Dustin
His college
Ackley.
teammate drafted later was a vastly better player. Dustin Ackley was the second pick of the freaking draft. Great
Sure
call,
was.
Ginger Fit. And this is why I love to have a deep pool of prospects. You want to have a great minor league system, but a huge part of that is it gives you the ability to make trades. Trader Jerry, you're hoarding all the wrong shit, man. I mean, you're not, if it keeps going like this, bro, and you don't make some trades, you're not going to see these prospects on the field while you're running the team, anyways.
Not at all, man. Not at all. Again, this what good is having a bunch of magic beans in the beanstalk in your cabinet if you're not going to go outside and plant them, and then they get to a point where you can pick them and actually put them to work? Are we growing a botanical garden for people just to come look at, or are we trying to get fruit so we can go out and actually do some feeding with it? But again, man, just to be a fly on the wall in those meetings and see what it is their actual game plan is. I think is profit over the entertainment value, which I absolutely get because it's a business. But eventually, if you don't give this fan base something in return for their effort, it's going to be a long stretch for you to keep as many asses in that seat in that stadium as you are, because the last 4 years has just been an anomaly. Let's definitely hope we get some better production and again reward these guys, reward us with an offensive team that can come out and actually do some competing. Now it is baseball we're talking about. You make the Hall of Fame if you're effective in hitting the ball 30% of the time, and no other profession is like that. But still, like you said, the name of the game is to hit the ball, to get runners on base, and turn them into runs, and we just aren't doing a good job of that. Trade deadline's over, so there is no more, well, we should go get this, we should go do that. There's no more packaging that can be done. We're riding with what we are. I just, for the life of me, can't see why the piss and vinegar that Cal talked with during that final interview after Texas eliminated us, how come no one is getting up and trying to go make that type of approach when they're standing in the batter's box?
Yeah. I mean, hitting's not easy, but these guys are paid
By any means.
professionals and they have to do better. They have to do better, man. I mean, it's getting a little bit ridiculous here. Ginger Fit says the Reds claimed Ahmed Rosario. I believe he just said Ahmed. It must be Rosario from Tampa Bay.
Ahmed Rosario.
Ahmed. Okay. The only reason I say that is there's a dude that went to the high school on my UPS route who went to UW. I don't know if he's still on the Dolphins or not anymore, but his name's Savon Ahmed, spelled the same way, and I just call them all that because I know that's how he pronounces it. Everyone pronounces shit differently. Thank you for the
Of course.
correction.
Yeah.
But I really wanted him. That's a table setter. That's a table setter. We go up to the lineup with 205 hitters as our table setters right now. Ginger Fit, I think you and RG are homies because he says fuck them prospects. Mariners Lifers telling us Miller has like 8 pitches now, came into the league with 4. And this is where it's also tough for me is because the Mariners have been outstanding at developing pitching. Outstanding. There's no way around it. I give them an A on pitching and an F on hitting. That gives you a C overall when you do your GPA. So wherever you kind of think a C earns you in that respect.
He's
But
good enough to graduate, baby.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, but we don't want to just graduate here, and maybe that's all the Mariners care about. Mariners Lifer says he wants to keep Gilbert, Miller, and Mood, trade Kirby and Castillo. Kirby might have the most value. I would say he does have the most value of anyone if we traded him. And it's not because he is necessarily better than anybody, but it's where the contracts matter. If you traded for Kirby this offseason, the George has 3 more controllable years on his contract. He has been making league minimum up until this point. This offseason, he'll be arbitration 1 eligible, so he'll get a substantial pay raise. Logan Gilbert will be arbitration 2. He'll get a substantial pay raise. But I keep saying after this season, 2-year window, and that's because if Gilbert doesn't sign an extension, after 2 more seasons, he will be a free agent. After 3 more seasons, that's when Cal and Kirby would be up. Luis Castillo, he has legitimate trade value, not the same as the other 4 because of age and contract. But although it's been a little up and down for him this year, he has proven that he's a front of the rotation pitcher for the most part. And interesting, Ginger Fit. You don't trade you trade prospects. You don't trade from the rotation. I can dig that to a certain extent. I can dig
Say
that
it
to a
again.
certain extent.
Say it
Ginger
again.
Fit says you trade prospects. You don't trade from the starting rotation.
It's
to me,
going
it's
to have to be a mix. But exactly, it's going to have to be a mix. In order for us to get a proven bat that can actually get in here and do this, we're not going to just get it based upon a prospect. We're going to need something in return. Look at I know we use a lot of cross sports references on this episode. And so here's another one since we're ready to start. Look at the position that the 49ers are in. They're not going to be able to get an IU player back in any type of trade that they get for IU. So it's worth them trying to figure out how to get this thing done, even though it's almost weeks to the start of it and he's holding out. But also going to have to pay Trent Williams. And to me, I think that Trent Williams is the one who deserves money over IU. There was a trade scenario where you would get back Amari Cooper. Decent, but he doesn't give you what IU gives you. He could. I mean, I'm not knocking Amari Cooper, but you can't steal second base and keep your foot on first. Anytime you try to do that in making sports trades in your real life, you're no success in it. You have to find a way to be able to get it on. I don't want to see them trade anybody out of our starting rotation, but we need some meat in order to be able to get some meat back. And we just can't do that with prospects. I'm sorry. Personal opinion.
Texas Power Ranger, middle fingers to you. Trade it all and start over. Oh, hell no. You're just trying to ruffle my feathers right now, bro. It's one of those things where as an organization, you dream of drafting and developing Kirby, Gilbert, Wu, and Miller. We still have Emerson Hancock in AAA. There's still a bunch of other pitchers in the system that I think will be developed into studs, or could be. Could, with a question mark, is more appropriate. They just spent a ton of draft capital on pitching, just a couple months ago. So it's interesting. There's more than one way to skin a cat here. RG, I just wrote down a question earlier, and it's because you know how you so eloquently laid down how the Mariners en route completely fumbled the bag with their lawyers and their negotiations with Warner, leaving them high and dry. There's no way a business should ever let that happen to them. But how concerned should we be, in your opinion, that the Seattle Kraken and the Portland Trail Blazers are leaving Root effective immediately?
Just because of how shitty the deal is, I just think that we're going to be stuck holding it, and there's not really. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Well, my problem is
can't
I
go
think this
left.
is an excuse to lower the payroll. I legitimately think this will end up being an excuse to lower the payroll.
Absolutely. I mean, it already has had a major effect on what we could and couldn't do during the offseason coming into this season. And I don't see that they have a way around it. Who was it that bailed out Diamond? I can't think off the top of my head right now, but the guys who were involved in the Diamond Sports part of that deal, they all got bailed out. They got their money. Root just gave us the short end of the stick, and we don't have anything to do but play the ball as it lies. I don't know, man. Maybe we got to find a way to get Stanton to sell this to somebody with some actual pockets who can be able to do something. I can think of a couple people up there in the Pacific Northwest that got some money who should look to invest in this team if Stanton does decide to put it on the market. I just, again, man, and I say this wholeheartedly, as a drug dealer, the most important part of your job is your client relationships and your re-up, because you don't really make money the first time that somebody comes to you. You make your money the second time they come to you. In order for them to come to you that next time, you have to have everything in your power to be able to cool. Work's ready to be gone. Here's this work's coming back in. You need that cycle. And the iron was hot with everything in front of us. And we treated it like a 17-year-old who got $500 and was told, don't go spend it all on one place. And we went and spent it all on one place and came back and mom was like, hey, this is coming up. How much money you got? And we went, shit, I wish I wouldn't have done this. I wish I wouldn't have done that. It makes me wonder how Stanton got rich in the first place. But, no good deed goes unpunished. Now Warner is trying to sue the NBA because they got fucked out of trying to re-up their NBA rights, made a qualifying offer, and the NBA said, sorry, man, we can put this thing in Amazon's hands and they can do a lot more with it than you can. We love Ernie and Chuck. Not as much as we love this money. Again, when you fuck up your re-up, you have messed up the most important part of your game. If you're trying to get your weight on track, refer to the earlier verse in the opening part of the podcast.
There we go, man. Someone's telling us about the 10 crack commandments, apparently. But it's quality control. It's quality control. If you want them coming back, you got to have that same product at that same level, if not better. These fiends will know immediately. And I might not be a fiend to some drugs, but I'm a fiend to the Mariners, man. And if you want me to keep coming back, you heard me already waver about, because me and my bro were going to go on Game Time and get some last second tickets, try to see if we could find some decent ones for a bunch cheaper with someone at the last minute trying to recoup some of their money if they can't get to the game. But Sunday evening media is asking who are they worried about? I mean, the one thing I'll defend is it is a business. And the goal of a business is to make money and to make as much money as possible. I guess my problem with the Mariners is they just always feel so short-sighted to me. Y'all saw, if you are in Western Washington or anywhere in the country for that matter, what the Seahawks did to the community when they were at their peak run with Pete Carroll, LOB, etc., man. They were making money every possible direction. Bro, the Safeway on my UPS route, buy the bank, buy the ATM, buy the lotto and cigarettes and that sort of shit. They still got Seahawks swag all over it. And they only won one Super Bowl. It was 11 years ago. And look at how it's responded. And so my problem is as a business, they're not capitalizing either. They want to have the best profit margin every single year, but they got to understand that Northwest fans go freaking crazy when the team is a legit champion contender. Crazy. Everybody, your grandma across the street that watches one football game every other year buys a Seahawks t-shirt. That's the shit that happens. And then to top it off, bro, as we well know, the Seattle Mariners, it's not just Washington. They have Alaska, Oregon, Idaho, Montana. They got a whole region where most of those baseball fans cheer for that one team. How many teams would kill?
There's even a city a little bit north of that who flood T-Mobile Park 3 times a year. If the Mariners had a banner to hang, those people aren't coming across the water wearing Blue Jays to that game anymore. They would cause such an influx into your profit if you had something to show for them. They're repping loyalty. Some of them are repping loyalty for a team that they weren't even alive to see Joe Carter hit that game-winning home run. They weren't alive to see the Braves screw themselves out of that World Series because they wanted to prove a point to Dion that we're not going to let you play football and baseball on the same day. And it cost them a fucking World Series not playing Deion Sanders. But again, me and Tyler O, we can go back to that. You're in a fucking hotbed. You're in a hotbed where you can absolutely dominate and take over. Those people are coming if you give them a banner-worthy outfit to cheer for. And we're not doing that. We had a huge chance to be able to make splashes and chose not to And then the whole Root deal just buried any chance that they had to be able to go with. Take the bailout deal. Go cut the same deal that those guys with Diamond did to be able to recoup some of their losses. Go do something. Don't just stand there and look like it didn't happen. You messed up. We know you messed up, but for fuck's sake, go out and try to do something better with it instead of just leaving us hanging.
Oh, that's what they like to do. What's crazy too is I feel that Stanton does care more about the Mariners than maybe previous owners, but the correlating playoff appearances don't match up at all. Yamauchi, the CEO of Nintendo, famously never went to a fucking Mariners game in his entire life. I think he went to
Boy
one
didn't
game.
have to. The boy didn't
But
have to.
we had more playoff appearances in Nintendo's reign than any other time in Mariners history. And the guy like went to one game in 20, 25 years. So you can't tell me that it's impossible. I guess we're kind of yelling at clouds right now, but damn it, that's what we got to do right now. But you know what? It's been a terrible week for the Mariners. And who was it? One of the homies is I'd have to scroll up, but I want to say thank you. One of the homies dropped it that they are giving the Mariners 22% chance of making the playoffs. That seems higher than I feel right now. But that's almost a quarter. That's above a fifth. I mean, we're not completely out of it. We're not completely out of it. Like they said, we still have 3 games left against the Astros. That scares the shit out of me. You know how I feel about Houston. Cheaters or
True.
not, they're the eminent team of the era. You know what? New England Patriots, proven cheaters. They're the preeminent team of that era. So no matter how you want to slice it, facts are the facts. I've gotten some friendly arguments on Bleacher with a couple of Astros fans that love to talk their shit on the Mariners section of the website or whatever. And they get all upset at me when I'm like, y'all are proven cheaters. But I always say, you're also the proven preeminent team of the era. You have to accept the facts. They are cheaters, but they are also the team of the era as we stand.
They're there. They're there without 2 game sevens in their own home parks that went the way of the visiting team. You're looking at 4 rings for those guys. And just the fact that they're there. They are there. They are there. I can tell you something else that'll slap you in the face even more. 31 years of existence, the Florida Marlins have never won a division title. But yet they've won 2 World Series.
Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. I have
Isn't
a
it?
friend who's a Marlins fan for some odd reason, and he lives up here, but he loves to rub that shit in.
Hey, dog, you'll ride with who's winning. I look at my cousin Paul, and his son is in that stage where he really likes basketball. And my cousin grew up a 76er fan because they're from the Philadelphia area. So he's like weaning to see where his son's loyalty is going to be. And since we live in the Southwest, it was, he's able to see Devin Booker on TV a lot since Albuquerque is technically in Phoenix's TV market for NBA games. So he's able to see Devin Booker a lot. But the Suns lost the finals and then choked 2 straight years in the playoffs. Steph Curry won a final. So now that kid is all Golden State. Whole new generation of fandom that he's going to now align himself to Golden State. So when he gets old enough to want to start going to trips with dad, let's go see Golden State play. When he gets old enough to start spending his own money, I'm going to go see Golden State play. Get to the dance. Get to the dance and to financially, economically take care of some of the things that you're looking for. So it'll give. There's a whole bunch of New England Patriot fans all across the country who live nowhere near New England, who are never going to Foxborough. But every time they turn on that TV in the second week of February, there's one team that they saw more than any other. It'll take care of them, man. Look at the complex that Kraft was able to build around Gillette Stadium. All that didn't come from just Boston fans. All that came because he's in position for this team to be on the dance. and it just drives up his fucking margin constantly. You can't tell me Gillette Razors is selling that much if they pay that much of fucking marketing fees for that guy to go build the whole fucking world around the stadium. But again, we look at what Stan and sees the other owners are doing with what they're able to put around their stadiums, and that's why he's in that real estate crunch to put the bar across the street and trying to see what he can get out of an area of Seattle that's kind of already well developed with not much room for most of it to be able to grow with the two stadiums, the train tracks, and the fucking Puget Sound a block away. Built on goddamn water. But yeah, man, just put it into your baseball team. Put it into your baseball team. We're thirsty enough. We will reward you. You go out and get us a name. We're coming out for it. Your whole region will come out for it. I swear to God, bro. Swear to God, take care of everything.
The problem is you got fans like me who are addicted to hats, though. That's another huge problem, though. Man, if there's a woman that loves shoes too much, I'm that dude that loves hats too much. So maybe I gotta slap myself on the wrist, bro, and be like, "Calm down, man. You loving them hats way too much, and you're giving money to the dudes that aren't gonna give it back to you." But it's life as a Mariners fan. This is life as a Mariners fan. Ginger fit, 37 games left. Houston has a tougher schedule. The one thing I would say is let's just fucking do it. We can sit here, we can piss, we can moan. We've been getting a lot of shit off our chests. It's been a frustrating week. I couldn't imagine being in that clubhouse. I don't know how they would react, but me personally, I would be irate. Shit would be getting broken, but I don't know how these guys act. They're also a lot younger. They got a lot of money in their bank accounts, even if you are on the minimum scale. And that's still $770 a year. Shit. That's more than almost anybody in this country makes per year. That ain't
Dude,
bad.
I'm telling
That
you.
ain't bad.
I'm
But
telling you.
here's a question. I want everyone on the live chat to chime in, and then for you, RG, you kind of referenced it a little bit, but I just want to fire it point blank. Do you think that there is or could be dissension, anger, and animosity in the clubhouse from the starting pitchings towards the rest of the dudes? Because they all play nice to the camera, but man, if I was one of these starters, I would be so unbelievably frustrated the way the other half of the team is not living up to their part of the bill, man. They're not paying their part of the bill and they're leaving them to pay the entire dinner here.
Only two voices on that starting rotation have the right to be able to go in there and say that. It would be Castillo, and above all, it would be the LOG, the OG, triple OG, Logan Gilbert. The rest of them have to shut the fuck up if that conversation is going on. Because if you were to come tell me something, the first thing I would say is, "Hey, Mr. Kirby, remember when you bitched about having to go out and pitch in the seventh inning? Yeah, you didn't want to, and just start a fight." Wu and Miller don't seem to have that type of dog in their mentality yet, because they are going out and still earning their keep. If those conversations are happening, it's coming from Castillo and it's coming from Logan. I don't know if there's that type of dissent. But I do know this. Hit the fucking ball, or a lot of you guys will be looking for new fucking jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Well, all I know is Jorge Polanco ain't getting that $13.5 million player option for next season. At least I sure as shit hope not.
Dude, I still remember damn near wanting to. I almost ran 2 fucking lights trying to hurry up and get to where I was parking in University Park the night that the alert came across that we were getting Polanco. Just we went ape shit in our group text the night that we got Polanco, and just still happy to have him. He'll figure it out. Just what is it about coming to the Pacific Northwest and forgetting how to hit? makes you miss Nelson Cruz all over again, doesn't it?
It really does, because this has happened on and off throughout Mariners history, but it's not like it's always a constant. And I think Nelson Cruz is a great example. He had no problems hitting up here. Marine layer, cockeyed batter's eye. It didn't matter to that dude. And maybe that's just how good he was. One of the best power hitters of his era. Ginger Fit says we got to show up tomorrow in LA. It'll tell a lot. You're damn right we do. But here's the thing about baseball, though, is you can have the right mentality, but if you're not executing your plan, the shit just doesn't matter, man. The shit doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. I've searched and scoured the internet, Archie, to try to find the stat, but I can't find it anywhere, so maybe it doesn't exist. But I don't know if I've ever seen a major league team miss so many center cut meatballs as the Mariners. They miss so many cookies right there down the middle, right at your belt buckle. You got to crush that fucker every single time. And at best, they foul it off or pop it up, man. Sometimes their plan's right and they just can't get the ball. They can't barrel it up enough. I mean, these guys, I see them swinging at good pitches all the time, and they just foul it off. What are you going to do about that, man?
Let that dog lie. Let that dog lie. If you were to find out the numbers on that stat, it might make you need a Tylenol. So just leave it alone, buddy. Just leave it alone, buddy. For sure. A big shout out to all the people rocking with us in the live chat. First time viewers, welcome. This is my ASP. Brought to you each and every week by the good folks at Vaden Podcast Services. You can always find us Sundays on YouTube for the live. If you can't follow us on the live, then streaming audio is always available to download wherever you get your favorite podcast from each and every Tuesday. Ty, man, what else is in the notebook, dog? It's been a fun conversation so far, but what else is in the notebook, man?
We cleaned this thing out, man. Cleaned this thing out. We got it off our chest. It's tough, man. It's tough because you get and this is the beauty of baseball, and maybe as a Mariners fan especially, is there's so many peaks and valleys in a 162 game season. If you let yourself become emotionally invested. Sunday night, I was talking all that shit, and now I'm, 1 week later, I'm like, God, dude, can we ever win? Can we ever hit? So that's just how it goes. There's just one more interesting stat to me I want to lay out there, and that's the parity in Major League Baseball right now. There is not a single team with a winning percentage over 600.
Interesting. Not even the $9 billion. Not even the Dodgers with their $9 billion payroll.
Yeah, for real.
And they're in a dogfight too. They're in a dogfight as well too. San Diego is hanging right in the midst of it. Who would have thought you would lose Juan Soto and your offense would find a way to get better the very next year? God forbid Tatis wasn't such an asshole, man. Yeah, man. But yeah, man, 3 coming up against the Dodgers. Road trip back up to Seattle for some home cooking. We'll welcome the Giants in for a 3-game set with Tampa Bay a day off. Then we'll head down to Mickey Mouse Land into Anaheim to close out the rest of the month. And then September, again, buckle in. If you know anything about how we roll over the last 3 seasons, this is going to get really interesting. We are going to close that gap, and then from there, it just matters on what type of hell is going to break loose and when it breaks loose. Chaos ball needs to return to the Pacific Northwest and needs to come and work out in our favor. But in the meantime, the only thing that we can control is giving Gavin Stone plenty of hell tomorrow at Chavez Ravine. That's the homie Ty Talks 24. I'm your man RG. Again, big shout out to Vaden Podcast Services, our man Indy on the ones and twos, making us sound like $1 million. A special shout out to our social media director, Miss Katie Matsumoto. Me and Katie are about to become sworn enemies once college football kicks off. And not because Florida State and Ohio State are natural rivals, just because I hate mostly anything that has to do with Ohio, including probably Dominic Canzone. Had to throw that shot in there. For sure. But yeah, as we break into football season, we'll definitely be expanding the conversation. A big thank you for those of you who rock with us on the live chat. Again, follow us on our socials, ASP. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok. Ty has some interesting takes. Always look for him dropping the live 1-2s and the little shorts each and every week. And again, if for those of you who can't follow us live, you can download this podcast each and every Tuesday, wherever you get your favorite podcast from. The homie Ty Talks 24. I'm that dude, RG. We thank each and every one of you, as always, for joining us for another My Oh My. It's another sports podcast.